You cannot feel this energy. Energy.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Car Wash Magazine Live. As always, I'm your host, Matt DeWolf, Editor-in-Chief of Car Wash Magazine. So you may notice that this program is set up to be a little bit different from our standard weekly show. I'm not giving you any jokes. I'm not going to be funny, not that I really normally am, but we are going to jump into a serious topic today, my friends. We are talking about hiring in a challenging hiring market. So we're going to give you some tips and tricks and ways that you can stand out to make that kind of pain point go mostly away. I mean, it's always kind of underlying, but we're going to give you some advice and experience from experts, people a lot smarter than me, to help you take that away a little bit. So we're going to get into it here in just a moment. We're going to bring our friends onto the screen. I'm bringing them in now. Can you guys hardly wait? Maybe we'll just wait here for a minute. Maybe we'll just sit. I don't know. All right, let me get them off mute and let's bring them on. Help me welcome everybody to the program, our panel of talent management experts. We've got Alex Paisner. I got him in the wrong seats here though. So on the screen right now, we'll fix this in a moment. We've got Alex is in the middle with George's name. We've got Chris on the right, and George is right next to me. So George Hobson from Brown Bear, Alex Paisner from ScrubaDub, and Chris Presswood from Mammoth Holdings. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Thank you, Matt.
So what do you guys think? Like, hiring's easy, right? It's never been easier. Isn't that that's what we're talking about today? Just kidding, guys. Okay, so before we jump in, let's start with just a real quick introduction for folks. So, George, can you just kind of give people a quick introduction about who you are and your organization for me, and I'll fix everybody's names.
Sure. I've been with Brown Bear Car Wash for 47 years. We've been around for a total of 64 years, and I started out as a window washer back in the full service days when we cleaned interior of cars, of course, and have now been the human resources manager for 14 years.
Excellent. And let's go ahead and have Alex. Can you go ahead and do the same thing for me?
Sure. Hey, guys. I'm Alex Paisner, part of the third generation of the Paisner family here at ScrubaDub Car Wash. We've been around for 56 years in New England. Like George, started washing the back windows, doing interior, and slowly made my way up. But yeah, I'm Director of People and Culture.
Director of People and Culture. What an appropriate title. That's an excellent title for this conversation. Okay, and last but certainly not least, on the screen here, if you're viewing at home, is Chris Presswood. Chris, can you go ahead and do the same thing for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Presswood, been doing this 21 years, was part of a company that built up to about 8 locations here, Finish Line Car Wash. about 2 years ago, just under 2 years ago, sold and now it partners with Mammoth Holdings. Kind of started off scrubbing windows. We were a full service car wash. Eventually graduated over the Flex, and then 8 Expresses was very heavy in the full service and detailing for about 8-10 years. And then as the model graduated, we just kind of graduated with it. Spent a lot of my time at Mammoth and our management and training classes, our recruiting teams, anything associated with our learning management software, processes, and standard operating procedures is what I spend my time on day to day.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for that introduction. So if you guys are watching at home or at the wash or wherever you might be viewing the program, make sure that if you've got questions and you want to chat, put that in the comments here below this video, and we'll get those questions up to our panel of experts. Here we are. Let's talk. Let's go for it. Let's get right into it. I want to know, because I see this conversation crop up a lot, how in the world are you guys finding people right now? I mean, there's definitely a need for people, especially within our industry, because our industry is growing and is booming. So how are you guys finding them? Let's go ahead and just start. George, how's it going for you, my friend?
Well, it's been tough in certain areas. Most of our car washes are located within I'd say 50-mile radius, and even with that, there are still pockets of those areas where we're having some challenges. But we post our job openings on our website. We utilize that through our payroll provider, and part of that process is also the ads go out on Indeed. So we do get some information out that way. In addition, some of our area managers that have a group of sites are still using Craigslist, which then directs them to our website. And so that's really the biggest way that we're doing it. But we're also focusing on internal referrals. So with our current employees actually doing the referrals and bringing people in, that has helped us a bit.
Yeah, that referral piece I think is really important, and I think we're going to talk about that in a little more depth here in just a moment, because I think referrals is 1,000% the way to go, and it takes away so many headaches. But Alex, what about you guys? Anything really interesting right now in terms of just finding people that aren't coming to you kind of out of this need to file for unemployment?
Yeah, it's a great question. Some of the other channels, like George, obviously, and like most people, we go through the internet. But we also find that in certain areas, partnering with high schools and community colleges, if we can get a good relationship with that career coach, director of career services, they will almost do that vetting for you. Where we'll have the community college up the street will give me a call and they'll say, "Hey, I got the perfect candidate for you." And it's another good recruiting channel for us for most of our locations.
Chris,
referral is huge.
Chris, how about you? Where are you guys looking? You guys have a little bit different footprint, right? So we've got Brown Bear in the northwest, ScrubaDub in the northeast, and then you guys are kind of southeast, but you're spilling out a little bit here. So what about you guys as you think about cross multiple states and areas?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in 11 states, and it's very interesting kind of region by region as you look into market insights in particular, and you look at jobs versus job seekers and the correlation between the two. We all feel this pressure, and we hear these national news medias telling us about how intense things are. But, in pockets, we still see a good correlation between job seekers and jobs. And so in some markets, you can still run hard and run fast and still see similar results. In others, the house isn't on fire, but there's more challenges than others to attract talent. But specifically to your question, look, it's the same channels. We got Indeed, we have ZipRecruiter, obviously social media, your website and what you can organically attract by having a strong brand. Obviously our strongest brands, the ones that, are running with the best management and producing the best products, they have a more organic attraction. People are referring more frequently. And then, of course, measuring that, so measuring the effectiveness of that, some job boards are effective than others in certain markets and demographics. And, in pockets, double referral bonuses and things of that nature, job fairs. Just there's nothing new here under the sun. It's just some strategies are more effective than others in certain regions.
So talk a little bit about that measurement piece, because I think that's important, right? Because a lot of us will just go and post the jobs and do the things and get it out there. What kind of metrics are you looking at? I mean, are you tracking all the way to conversion from like, hey, they came from the job fair, they applied, they did can you just explain a little bit of how to measure those things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of measurement in there. Application to hire ratio is obviously one of them. Quick apply on Indeed is fantastic, but also hurts you in some regard. It's not just quantity of applications, it's quality of applicants. I mean, obviously we'd like to have a 1-to-1 hire ratio. That means we're attracting the perfect candidate right away. It's less cumbersome to sort and sift. It is marketing, if you will, and attracting warm leads, your effectiveness in getting to those leads and, in a quick duration of time, and your ability to sort and sift them and get them to an actual face-to-face interview effectively. Because look, we've all been in those situations where people you're ready to make a job offer to, and they were already grabbed up real quick in this climate as well. So yeah, app to hire ratios, and even from first interview to second interview, and all the touch points. We have quite a few touch points between there, and we're measuring the effectiveness of that funnel.
Chris, you said something that I think is pretty interesting right now. Like, because of the market being the way that it is, and let's set aside the unemployment issue that we're facing with this, but you can't wait, right? I mean, the process has to be a little bit faster than maybe we were used to it being. And if you've got that good candidate, you do need to kind of act pretty quickly, not only with an offer, but getting them onboarded and getting them going, because I've seen some stories from people saying, yeah, I hired a guy, they were all set, they were going to come in, and they left the place and got a better offer. And so there that went. So I lost that one. So you got to move a little more quickly, and that I think that's an important component that we got to remember. We can't just take our time like maybe we like to. Okay, let's get into referrals a little bit. I wanna know. Chris, you were talking about referral bonuses. Alex, I think you guys do something similar. George, do you all as well?
We do.
Okay.
We have a referral program that's actually if one of our existing employees refers someone, that individual is eligible for a bonus after 60 days if both are still employed.
Okay, so you say 60 days must be there after the referral date before they get that bonus. Alex, I think you guys take a little bit different approach. Can you explain yours for me?
Yeah, sure. We kind of put a carrot on the front end, and then a bigger carrot towards the 90-day mark. So yeah, we have typically we'll say anywhere from a $200 up to a $500 referral bonus for our staff. And obviously you want your all-stars referring their friends and family and other all-stars. But yeah, they get a quarter of that up front when we hire their referral. And then if the referral's still here at the 90-day mark, they get the remaining 3/4 of that bonus. So it really incentivizes our staff to be selective in who they decide to refer. And hopefully they're referring the right folks that are going to stick with us.
Chris, what about you? Anything different? You mentioned double referral bonuses. Is that an all the time thing, or just when you need to flex, when you need to pull that trigger?
Great question. So at the current time, what we have is just a normal referral bonus. And look, we all understand that, referrals, you don't have to interview as many of them. They understand the job, they understand you, they understand the culture, the environment you're trying to create. They also stay with you longer. And so in pockets, we'll do a double referral bonus. And what we'll do is basically post via, different sources internally. Hey, we've got a week period, a 7 to 10 day period. If you guys refer someone, you will be, able to receive a double referral bonus.
I love that. It brings up an interesting psychological question that I'm going to get into later about incentives and money and all that kind of thing. But let's table that for the moment. But let's get into pay and benefits a little bit, because so we found somebody, that's great. But how do we make ourselves attractive, and how do we make sure that they want to take our offer, right? So, Alex, I love your guys' perspective in terms of pay. Can you just kind of talk about that for everybody from like a big picture kind of strategic view for us?
Yeah, sure. Well, and even to back it up even further, top level, the first question is, what is the type of person that I want in my organization, and what does that type of person, what other organizations are they looking at? And how do I stack up relative to those companies? If you want to be just like Chick-fil-A, and those are the kinds of applicants that you're hoping to acquire, that applicant's going to compare you and Chick-fil-A. And, taking a look at your benefits, your culture, your work environment, are you as attractive, and can you make the pitch? Can you sell them to come in and join your organization instead of theirs? So that's kind of the big starting point is you have to look at what components you can compete on, where perhaps if you're a smaller organization, you might not be able to compete on upward mobility compared to a big organization, but you need to make up for that in some other areas. And so for us, one of those components is pay, with the nature of unlimited and how that's helped provide stability to our industry and in our business. We have a little bit more wiggle room to be able to offer more and make our job more attractive from the pay perspective relative to many other jobs out there. And one of my mantras is incentives dictate behavior. And so whatever behavior you want to see, if you can attach a positive incentive to that, you're going to get people moving in the right direction and exhibiting the things you want to see. So really from top to bottom, every position in the organization, we tie a critical metric or a key component to a bonus or an incentive structure, and it tends to work out pretty well.
And you find, Alex, you find that that's pretty successful, keeping it financially focused for everybody?
Absolutely. For most people, that is a major component. Some people aren't motivated by money, but the vast majority, it certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it never hurts. It never hurts to have a little more in the pocket, right? I mean, come on.
For sure. And it's one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Where everybody needs that foundational. They need security for themselves and their family. So base level, if you can provide that, then you can start to provide the other things like recognition and self-fulfillment, and you work your way up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, kind of the idea. But you got to cover that base level first of shelter and food and stability, and obviously that starts with pay.
Yeah, and Alex, you said something when we were talking in kind of preparation for the show that I thought was really interesting. You said you guys pay more than you're comfortable paying. Explain that phrase. Pay more than you're comfortable.
Sure. This was Bill Dahm from Crew Car Wash out in Indiana. They're consistently voted one of the best employers to work for in Indiana, not just in the car wash industry, but period. And yeah, he's got a lot of wisdom, but that was his big advice to me, was as long as the fundamentals and the economics of your business are stable and you stand and you're projecting a profit, you can afford to pay a little bit more for each of your staff members. And that additional amount, more than you might be comfortable with, can make all the difference in the world from a loyalty perspective. Yeah,
well, and loyalty and just how they feel, right? How they show up every day to work and how they go about their job and the energy that they bring to the table. I think that's a huge piece. That's one less thing that somebody has to worry about, right? I think that's pretty cool. What George or Chris?
Minimum wage, you're going to get minimum work.
Yes, yeah, I love that. God, Alex, you're on hot take seat today. What about George or Chris? Do you guys, from a pay or maybe even a benefits perspective, anything that you guys think is really important to consider, especially right now and trying to stand out in a tough hiring market?
Well, for us right now, it is pay. We actually are in the process of running an analysis on what our pay is like. Typically, we've been at the higher end when you compare some of the other businesses similar to ours that are hiring the similar, type individuals. And we've noticed that we are probably just a little low, but not bad. But when we're talking about employers out there paying, $17, $18, $19, $20 an hour, we've got to make some real hard decisions. But to Alex's point, if that's what it takes and that's what we need to do and we're comfortable doing that, then that's what we'll have to do. And we'll do that. From a benefit standpoint, all of our employees are eligible for benefits after a certain amount of tenure with the company, and that's what triggers that piece. But there are benefits that are available.
I want to switch gears, Chris, if it's okay, unless you've got something burning to add.
Well, I guess the only ad I would have would be measure the participation of those benefits and are they utilized? It's one thing to throw them out there and to say, hey, I've got these things. But how are you communicating them and measuring their utilization, I think, is the ultimate effectiveness. And the follow-up with that, I think, is one of our focal points right now, is how we communicating that, because that's the ultimate effectiveness of them. So.
And I'm sure you guys see, if they participate, they're probably not leaving.
Right, but that's how you know you're hitting the nail on the head, right? Because you know that not only are you offering great things, but people are using them, which then cycles down into great retention, which then gets me to where I wanted to go. Thank you for the segue. Company culture. All right, so Chris, you're gonna tee us up on this one because you segued me here. Talk about company culture in terms of how important that is to be able to communicate that from a hiring perspective, and kind of what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for us here at Mammoth, we even put in our mission statement, we're looking to partner with our team members on their personal and professional goals. And so, it's very unique for us. We've got a melting pot of brands and bringing them together. And so how we communicate our culture, who we are, what we stand for, our core values, and really building and defining those communication pieces along the way as we integrate them have been extremely important in defining it. It has to be more than a poster on a wall. And so, there's a lot of touch points. I think for us organizationally, one of the more important things that we're doing is recognizing all those touch points through the employee journey. So, an employee journey map is actually a tab open on my screen, and the optimization, and is it manual, is it semi-automated or fully automated, and what is that like, and all those touch points, because there's literally like 114 touch points, and that so much impacts the company culture, and it's an individual experience for that team member.
Yeah, it's not unlike our customers, right? Like, we want them to have a great experience so that one, they come back, and two, they tell their friends. I mean, we just talked about referrals, so yeah, I love that. Alex, what about you from a culture perspective? I know you guys are big on transparency. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, we're lucky in being a relatively small family business. We're able to kind of dictate the environment that we want to see more of. And so for us, it's our number one core value is care like family. And we treat our employees like family, and our managers tend to turn around and treat their team members like family. But yeah, with the transparency perspective, we really try to practice open book management to the best of our ability, meaning literally for all of our management staff, they see the budget for their sites. They see exactly what money came in, what money's going out, what they can control. Bringing it back to the incentives, their bonus is heavily tied to the overall performance of their site, so they can see exactly where the money's going. And that level of transparency and showing that we really don't have anything to hide, we find builds loyalty.
Yeah, that's a different level of trust, right? I mean, there's a lot of times as a business owner, you have this natural kind of bent towards keeping it close, like keeping it tight. It's like, no, it's secret. But the more that you share, the more bought in your employees can become, and the more they can believe in what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that drives a fantastic culture. George, you guys are a family business really as well. Can you talk about how that plays into your culture and how you're attracting employees through that?
We try and share the importance of how we got started, making sure that people understand that it was built by people just like those that we are looking for and going to be hiring. The importance of taking care of the customer, that's what built our foundation. The owner comes in every day and is here and still shares that message with us through, his son, the vice president of the company, and then all of those of us that have been around for years. It's just the story that we continue to share with everyone, that we take care of the customer. Mr. Odermatt, our owner, his comment is, and what he shares with everyone is, and others use this as well, but the customer signs our paycheck. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that and knows that. His other mantra has always been the customer is king. And making sure that we all understand that and realize that is important. So we try and share that with applicants by providing our employment video on our website so that they understand what that culture is right from the get-go. So when they apply for a position, they enter their information, they have the opportunity to see the video. If they then go through the interview process, the site manager refers back to that video so that they can understand, did you get this information from what information did you get out of that video that you might find helpful in your employment with Brown Bear going forward?
I think that's a huge piece, George, that you just mentioned, which is helping tie it together for the employee, right? Like, it's one thing to have, here's the documents, here's how you're going to onboard, you're going to watch our videos, and here's all the things. And this goes back to what Chris was saying about it can't just be a board on the wall, right? Like, your existing team members have to help bring those people along and those new hires along in terms of helping them connect the dots back to the vision, back to the culture, back to that whole experience. Super important advice there, friends. If you're watching at home, don't miss that part. Okay, so we found some people, right? We found what we've been talking about so far is really kind of applicable to anybody we're looking for, but I want to talk a little bit about attracting maybe like a manager level, right? Manager level and up. And so I think from my perspective, one of the key components here is career pathing and making sure that that's available and transparent and you can do that well. Who wants to start? Who wants to start on this one? Let's do Alex. Alex, start on career pathing. Can you talk about how you guys approach that, especially as it relates to making that attractive in a hiring mode?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's, again, going big picture, feeling very philosophical today. If you can help somebody, if you can communicate your vision clearly, where is this organization going and where do all of these people in it fit? If you can help people visualize themselves in that, then you've got your buy-in. And so career pathing, if, again, in transparency, you can show them visually exactly what their career path will look like if they, commit and bring their knowledge and enthusiasm to your organization, they're more likely to do that. So we just kind of have a couple of documents that show literally, a ladder, step by step by step, how long and what prerequisites you need in order to qualify as a management trainee, assistant, site manager, et cetera, and what the pay scale looks like at those positions. And so if somebody is, at the bottom and they're making whatever, 13 or 15 an hour, and they're looking at that chart saying, if I take care of business here, I could be, an assistant manager making X amount in 6 months to a year, they're more likely to continue down the path.
Well, George, you're a living, breathing career path example, right? Like, share that with folks. I think that's important. I think they need to know your story.
Well, as I mentioned, I started out as a window washer, became a team member, then, of course, as part of that team. And then as we started doing more express car washes back in the day, when we first started that and kind of got out of the full service business, I became a assistant manager, site manager, and then an area manager for a group of sites, anywhere from 4 to 6 sites over the years. And then, as I said, I became the human resources manager, but all during that time, I had a passion, like I still do, about the developing people and looking at it from the hiring part, right from the start of hiring through their entire career. And that's always been something that I've enjoyed doing. And so even as an area manager, I had my finger on the pulse of doing different things as it related to the overall company from what I would call a human resources standpoint. And then, of course, now as we've got 420 plus employees, there's a need for this position and for what we need to do to bring people on board and develop them.
So the approach for you all is just put you in front of the candidate and have you tell your story.
and I do that. I actually conduct orientation sessions, and where prior to COVID, of course, we'd bring people into the office and we'd have those meetings and do our orientations here. And last year we've done a few via Zoom, of course.
So a couple of great examples there for folks to kind of take away. One, Alex brought up this idea of showing visually the steps, right? And showing how people can kind of career path their way up the ladder, what they might be able to make, how they can see themselves there. And then George shares with us, how you can kind of use personal stories, right, to help people see themselves there and see that actually does happen and it's a real thing. So from an applicant perspective, I can go in and have that interview and see these things and realize that it's not BS, right? This is real life. This is actually what happens at this company, and it's awesome. That goes back to this culture piece. I want to make sure you guys remember this part too. Like on the culture, yes, it can't be just a thing on the wall. Yes, it can't be just a string of videos. Make sure that when people show up, those applicants show up to your location, that your location reflects that, right? If your mission statement is all about making people happy and having a really positive experience, don't have the applicants show up to a dark and dingy and dull and just downtrodden place. Like you don't want that. You don't want the wah wah. All right. So no sad trombone. So make sure that those things match. Make sure those align. Otherwise, mixed messages and you're gonna lose applicants. Okay. So if you guys are watching at home and you have questions, you can put those in the feed below and we'll get those up to the panelists. I want to talk real briefly. I'm trying to look for my clock here to see how much time we've got left. We're getting up to the end of it here. So real quick, I want to know from each of you, and we'll start with Chris because I didn't let you talk about the last thing. Let's talk about keeping people. Like let's just kind of maybe say one or two of the most important things you think a company needs to do when it comes to keeping people. You've hired them, you found them, you got them there, you got them onboarded, but that's a whole different thing. How do you keep them?
Well, I mean, look, we've all heard, praise and recognition and, making sure that people feel attached to their work. But, I think it's training and I think it's vision and mission and attaching and letting people see, always heard, without vision, mission, people, they perish, they fall out to the wayside. And especially in this climate right now, I think I read an article, 40% of people are looking over their shoulder right now looking for other work, so I can't imagine going a week or 2 or 3 without hearing about, hey, where's this thing going and why do I need to be part of it? And how does that include me? What's in it for me? But if I'm constantly being engaged, trained, fed, not cotton candy, meat and potatoes, real actual training, stuff that makes a difference, not for what's in it for the company, but what's in it for me personally, professionally. I think that's the secret sauce right now, and your ability to deliver on that consistently is what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. Let's just go right down the line from that side over. So Chris just gave us some advice. Alex, how about you? What do you think is important? Maybe one or two things for just keeping people.
Yeah, absolutely. To echo Chris a little bit, and maybe a different angle, if you can clearly talk about your purpose and not in just a mission values statement, but actually talk and have your managers preaching it. In reality, is the purpose of your organization to make money so that the owner can buy a boat and a second house? If that's it, then you're going to have trouble hanging on to people. If you're practicing what you preach and your purpose is truly to invest in your people, and the reason that you're pushing the numbers and focusing is that net income is going to go into the next site and the next site, which will provide more and more opportunity for the people coming up next, then that's a vision that people can buy into and they're going to stick around.
You mean we don't do this just for the boats and the houses? That's not. I don't even want a boat, actually. Let's be real. Like the two best days of people who own boats' lives is when they buy the boat and when they sell the boat, right? That's how that goes. You want to have friends with boats. That's what you want. George, what about you?
I agree with what both Alex and Chris have said, of course. And I guess I would add to that, the other piece is just treating your employees with respect, and making sure that those applicants that are coming in can see that as well in some way. But for the existing employees and that have get started and have been around for years, that for us is a key. It's very, very important. And also showing them that we are willing to do whatever they do as well. Our general manager is out there, prepping cars. He's out there guiding cars on, and he's got customers that come up to it, or I should say our employees come up to him and say, I'll take over, I'll take care of that. You don't need to do that. And they look at him and he says, no, you go take your break, or I'll be more than happy to keep doing that. And they then look at him and say, well, you're the big guy. Why would you need to do that? And he goes, because it's important for me to do that. I enjoy taking care of the customer, and I want to make sure that you get the break you need, or that you get, the time away right now, that type of thing. It's just, it shows again that respect piece. The other thing that I think is important is making sure that the employees know what you do outside of, in the community. So in our case, there are a lot of, we do a lot of things with local organizations, make donations, have a charity car wash program, all of these type of things. And we want to make sure that our employees know what we do in the community, and also how they can help and contribute to that as well.
Yeah, that's a crucial point there, just helping people feel like they're part of something bigger, right? Like, it's harder to leave something when you realize the impact that thing that you're part of is having on your greater community. So that's a super big piece. It's like we like to say, more than washing cars, right?
Right.
Absolutely. To jump in, just one more quick thing. It's to listen to your employees. The biggest thing, whether it's anonymous surveys, whether you have your managers doing one-on-ones or you're doing one-on-ones with your people, the biggest thing is to truly listen and to hear the feedback. And who knows, the more that you empower and engage your people, the better ideas you get from them, and the more you can run with it. And if people are bringing ideas to the table that maybe don't fit, or they don't have the whole context, if you have to say no to an idea, you can at least provide them some more context or reasons for the no that provide an educational moment and get further buy-in. But making sure that your people feel like they have a voice, and that they not just are along for the ride, but they're helping drive the ship. They're not going to abandon it.
Great advice. Gosh, this is a rich one. I would let you go right now, but I got one more question. And so we'll do this. This is like speed round, 60 seconds or less. Look, you all have seen really great success with your organizations, multi-site operations, larger companies in terms of when you look at the greater landscape of the overall car wash industry. But you weren't always that big. So for the smaller operators out there, I want to know what is one thing that I can do today that's going to help me tomorrow with my hiring, with me standing out in a tough hiring market. So let's go down the line. We're going to go with George first. George, what is one thing I can do right now to be better tomorrow when it comes to hiring and standing out?
I would say that it's probably sharing your story, and whether it's in print, if it's on your website somehow, sharing what you do and how you can bring people into your organization from and make them feel a part of it.
Yeah, be loud, be proud.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Alex, how about you? One thing I can do today that will make me better tomorrow when it comes to standing out in a tough hiring market.
Yeah, in the same way that you're trying to stand out to customers or potential customers, you've defined your value proposition. You got to look at your organization and do the same thing for hiring. Why should people work for you? What makes you different, better, more attractive? If you can get a good pitch, then you're going to be farther along.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Chris, bring us home, my friend. One thing I can do today.
Yeah, I would say, kind of go slow to go fast. Quit working in your business, work on your business. Identify your top 5-10 touch points whether that's the initial application, whether that's an onboarding process, whether that's a stay interview, like Alex referenced earlier, exit interviews. Find some of those touch points throughout there and pick them one at a time. If you just picked one a week, one a month, and you worked on them, you look up 6-12 months from now. And so the one thing I would do is just create a plan to improve those touch points. And I think you'd find yourself working in a different place 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I mean, look, in the industry, if you're in this business, you know how to create processes, and systems, and so do that for this piece of your business and work on that. So I love that. Hey guys, this has been fantastic conversation. I could talk for the rest of the day and tomorrow, and we can go on and on and on, but I'm going to let you guys get back to it. So thank you for sharing your experiences and your expertise on this.
Thank you.
Crickets, you guys. Oh, you left me hanging. All right. I'm going to let you guys get back to it. For everybody watching at home, if you guys want to see more stories like this was our special, our first talent management focused episode of the show. We'll do more of these. We also do marketing panel focused discussions. We've got one of those coming up for you next week. If you're interested in tips and tricks to have better grand openings or reopenings, whatever you might be kind of approaching. So look out for those. If you want more stories just in general about how these kind of things we talk about are in play in regular day-to-day car wash operations, episode 57, friends, Jason Woodward from Sudsy Salmon Car Wash talked through a lot of the things that we just talked about today from these panels and what he does to make sure he's finding top talent. So check that out. As always, look, from week to week, there is only one thing that you have to do when you're out there, and that is keep it clean.